What if the happiest day of your life was the exact moment the clock started ticking down to the murder of the person you love most? Right at the end of the first episode of Supercell, Michael freezes time, steps into a ruined future, and comes face to face with a battle hardened version of himself. And that future self drops a bomb. Dion is going to die in exactly 3 months, and your new superpowers are the only way to stop it. But this isn't Marvel. There's no billionaire benefactor or high-tech lab coming to save them. Michael isn't fighting aliens. He's a delivery driver trying to survive South London street politics, systemic bias, and a literal genetic ticking time bomb disguised as a superpower. By trying to alter the timeline to save her, is Michael actually going to be the one who causes her death? We're breaking down the brilliant, gritty world of Supercell, decoding the terrifying link between these superpowers and sickle cell anemia, and rating this premiere against the MCU. Lock in, drop your theories in the live chat right now as we try to determine whether Michael is trapped in a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's a lot. Oh yeah.
That is a whole lot.
It's a simple one. The title. Michael, what you got?
Michael, just that. Diving into this show, we don't really know what's happening initially, but we are introduced to Michael. He seems to be a very stand-up guy, just kind of everyday citizen getting by. And then we find out that there is more to Michael than meets the eye, quite literally. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this episode opens with intense localized struggles. For example, car payments, bad credit, bailiffs, employment DBS checks overriding hard work, and street politics. How does establishing this extreme realism before any superpowers manifest change our investment in these characters compared to traditional sci-fi setup tropes?
So let me premise this by saying I did not have the buy-in initially. Well, I will say this. In the first 60 seconds, I was like, ooh, okay. And then after that, I kind of flatlined for a bit. Then I got reinvested a little bit later. So I want to premise it by saying that. So the way in which they set it up with the everyday struggles, we know that most of us aren't millionaires, billionaires. Most of us aren't thousandaires, right? And so that allows us to invest in these characters' everyday struggles because that's where most of us live, right? The day-to-day grind. And so it's like, okay, it allows you to build up a personal relationship with each character's struggles and empathize with them before we get into the absolute chaos that ensues.
Okay, all right, I like that. So Sabrina's character explicitly calls out the media landscape, noting that a missing Black girl won't get Madeline higher levels of news coverage, but rather just a Facebook post. What does this meta commentary say about the specific world Rapman is building and the societal critique Supercell is aiming for?
So I like that it is a global call out, if you will, because it's not just unique to America. It's happening in London. It's worldwide, to say that when it comes to specifically people of color, it's not a matter of urgency. And so we know, if we do our research, sickle cell is something that is predominantly Black people are affected by, right? And so there's not much concern when it comes to a person that is Black or brown, as opposed to a face that looks more pale, sadly, but truly. And that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. I liked the fact that he used Supercell, something that, most Blacks, no matter where you're located throughout the world, this is something that is common to us. This unites us. This is a healthcare issue that unites us, right? And though not everyone is afflicted with this, many of us know people who have it or the trait for sickle cell.
Yes.
I
One in
grew up
13.
believing all my life that I had the trait. It was something else I had, but it was it wasn't the trait. You were about to say something?
Well, no, I was saying 1 in 13. Whenever I kind of cross reference my research, of course, this is something that we just know of being people of color that it affects our community. But 1 in 13 carry the gene. Is what I came across as far as statistics goes. But that's it. It's just me rambling.
No. That's important. That's important because it kind of sets up why this show is important, right? All right, so let's dissect Michael. In the first episode, as we established earlier, the title of this particular episode is Michael. So let's dissect his particular character. So he is desperate to treat Dion, managing his overtime, and orchestrating a romantic proposal. Yet by the end of the episode, he discovers he can teleport, freeze time, and travel to a dark future. How do his core traits, let's see. How do his core traits, being a family-oriented, meticulous planner, clash with the chaotic, uncontrollable reality of suddenly holding the keys to the future?
It's too much. It's absolutely too much. And so not only can he freeze time and do all that, but he also has the power of like premonition wrapped up in all of that as well. And so it's too much because essentially you have a savior complex, but at the same time you're also an average Joe as far as you know to this point. And so I really think it's overload for him. And so ultimately I feel like it having your plate that full will inevitably cause you to make some bad calls simply because you're just overrun. It's just too much.
Does it speak to? I mean, because this particular episode, they talk about more than just Michael. They talk about some of the other characters as well. So it speaks to all the different levels of stress that many Black people have to deal with. What I was struck by, when I think of Great Britain, I never really thought of Blacks in Great Britain. I was thinking like, oh, they only have like 1% Black. But I quickly learned that
We out here.
Huh?
We out here.
Yeah. Does it speak to the level of stress that we all have, no matter where we're located?
100%. Globally, we've been screwed as a people. Let's just say that, like, seriously. And so 100%, you may have an accent, but I can assure you that I can put these 5 London people with these super abilities against, if you put it inside of America, we're going to have some similarities, even if you stripped away the superpowers. And by the way, just a quick aside, did this not give you a little bit of Crash / Sense8 minus the 6? Just a little bit of undertone. It wasn't overtone, but just a little bit. Like, it just reminded me of Sense8 just a little bit, just not, like I say, without the 6. It didn't have the 6 going on, but I don't know. I thought about Sense8 as I watched this show.
I definitely did. I definitely did. You know what? I think I've only seen Crash once. But like I get it. Like I understand like why you say crash, because it's talking about the all the different things, the dualities that people live, especially like if you're Black.
And the interconnectedness.
Yes. I love the way you said that. Question. How do these deep-seated personal traumas act as a precursor to the emergence of their abilities?
So, out of trauma brings either you rise into the occasion or a complete meltdown and crash out. And so you have, and I love the fact that there are 5 of them. Wish it would have been at least 2 women instead of just 1, but whatever, that's just me. But at any rate, I feel like that enables us to see the characters one as real and not just saying, hey, we have these abilities, so we're superhuman and we're held to a higher standard. No, we're human
Mm. Mm.
human. And so to me that sets the tone when you can understand the backstory and the why. And not saying that any of them are villains, but I'm one of those people that always resonates with the villains. Nobody ever believes me. It's like, oh, you're so nice, you're so sweet. I always resonate with the villains or seemingly villains because I don't feel like 90% of villains start off as villains. There's always a why behind the what. And so that helps to set the stage and the tone, if you will, for why these characters move the way that they move out of desperation, out of, like you say, the trauma or what have you.
So let me ask a question, just kind of piggybacking off of what you were talking about. Are these characters villains, anti-heroes, or are they our heroes?
Not heroes in a traditional sense, so perhaps anti-hero adjacent. I don't know. That's kind of difficult to flesh out because it's kind of boxed because it depends on how you perceive these different titles, right? Hero, all I'm sorry,
Self-sacrificing.
yes,
Heroes are self-sacrificing.
self-sacrificed without expecting anything. No, I got bills to pay. I have this going on without a specific agenda other than the intrinsic value of saving someone. So no, I wouldn't just say hero because no, there is an agenda. There's 100% an agenda. And so I'm not going to say villain because this stems from something more. You're not out just to hurt people. You have a why behind your what. And so I feel like anti-hero may be closest to what we're looking at through my lens for who these 5 super abled people are.
Okay, so earlier we were talking about the trauma, the stress of dealing with their everyday lives, and then being given these superhero abilities. When you have sickle cell, stress inflames the disease and it causes, all kinds of different things to happen. Okay. And what we know is that they must have, I don't know, the trait or sickle cell itself, even though all of them have stated that no, they don't have sickle cell. So they must have a mutation, I'm assuming, a mutation of sickle cell in some way. How does the juxtaposition between the disease itself being inflamed, if you will, by stress, and then having these abilities being triggered by stress and trauma, what's the juxtaposition between those two realities?
So more than I don't know if I can say a juxtaposition because simply because it seems like it's more of a parallel than a juxtaposition. And
Okay.
so I wouldn't say more than being juxtaposed. I would say it's parallel because evidently, even if the trait or the mutation, as you would say, if whether it's dormant or what have you, I'm not a science brain. Stress triggers many things, right? We know that you can attribute anything to stress. Literally any and everything. Google it, stress. It's all related to stress. And so I can say that each of these characters is under an overwhelming amount of stress. And so where their sickle cell trait may be a mutation or dormant or what have you, it's surfacing because of the abnormal levels of stress they have to face literally daily. And so, like I said, maybe not juxtaposed, but parallel or correlated.
Okay. For this particular question, what I was thinking, at least in my mind, was, hey, sickle cell in a regular person causes perhaps their downfall. Um, Sickle cell for these people, it 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 enables them to have these powers, and so no longer looking at the fact that we're black as a negative, but now a positive, a possible positive.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I missed the mark. Thank you for
No.
putting it that way, because that makes perfect sense. Because now it's completely a juxtaposition. Oh my God, sickle cell. No, wait. I got powers? Great.
Okay. Given that sickle cell anemia predominantly impacts people of African and Caribbean descent, how brilliant or risky is it from a narrative standpoint to turn a real world genetic health burden into the literal foundation for superhuman mutation?
I feel like you literally just touched this with your explanation of the previous question. And so I love that. And so I feel like as a person of color or people of color, we often get the raw end of the deal, literally from everyone. And I do mean literally from everyone, even ourselves. So to take something that attacks people that look like us and turn it into a positive chef's kiss, love the writing, and appreciate that, because, as opposed to sickle cell, we're going to call it supercell. You're super abled. And so they're very intentional about the title. They're very intentional about how they develop these characters and the science behind it. And so it's really one of those celebratory moments. If you can delve into the world of science fantasy, I'll call it science fiction. I'm going to say science fantasy. Fantasize things like FaceTime, are derivatives of science fantasy. We can think about those things. Hey, hello, Jetsons. And they can really come to fruition. And I'm smiling because I'm super excited, because I think it was absolutely brilliant. We need more of these things. Come on, Black Mirror. Shows. Give it to us. Give it to us.
Okay. How does its medical narrative tie into the historical treatment of the diaspora regarding healthcare access?
Oh, first of all, the opening scene, right? The opening scene, the way in which people of color, in fact, I'm gonna say Black people, or ostracized and literally experimented on, Tuskegee, all the things that have happened to people that look like us, literally just being prodded and probed, those things in the name of science, and being just looked at as an experiment rather than a person. So that opening scene, even though it flatlined for me a little after that, and I know I'm all over the place, but all of that to say, when it comes to healthcare and things of that nature, when it comes to people of color, it's not as important. We're cattle or livestock or all of these things, just some experiment, just the way in which they drug this woman's body in front of the other people that were in that setting to prove a point, to further say, hey, you're just an experiment. This is not a human life. Drove home a lot for me and resonated with, hey, like, we may throw science fiction or science fantasy in there, but this was the reality for our people on a larger scale. And even to this day, and I know there's been like a huge wave of people preferring to have someone look like them treat them, simply because oftentimes we're discarded or not heard, and the care is not up to par, simply because the bias that is there from some of those that are racist or prejudiced or whatever behind our people.
So for me, it was the moment in which they shot the woman
Yeah.
and they decided to drag her body in front of everyone. Um, it was telling. It was okay. So I understood what they were trying to do. From their perspective, they're trying to manage the people that they have in there. Hey, this could happen to you if you step out of line. But what it was actually telling me was that I'm worth nothing. I'm worth nothing. You're gonna drag my body, like you've just killed me. Like what type of sensitivity towards my death are you going to have? That
It
was
was
none.
it was an overtone, and it was a tale as old as time that we've seen time and time again. Historically, from the things that the lynchings, the thing, and so for me, that opening scene said and did a lot. This is
Mhm.
London, but it was reminiscent of a lot of things, especially with American slavery, and Jim Crow. But anyway, I'm gonna get off of that before I get upset.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about Michael, and we've kind of veered into sickle cell and healthcare and all of that. But let's get to know some of our characters.
Hey, Dre.
Um, so Andre, what is it that we know about Andre just by looking at episode one?
He broke.
And why? Why is he broke?
Now, so Andre has had some unfortunate, I'm gonna say that, life experiences to happen, but he does have a child that he is wanting to take care of. He's trying to get his life on the straight and narrow, but life is kind of beating up on Andre. And so I love that it's not so clean cut, that this is a person who has lived life, who has made mistakes, but he's trying to, you know, I don't want to say reinvent himself, but he's trying to improve his conditions, not just for himself, but for his child. And so early on, I 100% empathize with Andre because he wants to do the right thing. But hey, like when life spits in your face, it kind of gets harder and harder to do the right thing. And so I had fallen in love with Andre early on.
So what I really loved about his particular character was, his hardships aside, I loved the relationship that he wanted to have and had with his son. I also appreciated the scene in which he was upset, he was stressed, so much so that he hit the bank machine. What do you call those things? I can't
ATM.
remember. Those ATM machines. It's been years since I've used one. That's how you know. Um, so he hit it, and the money comes out, and what we learn in a couple episodes later, maybe the next one, he didn't spend that money on himself so much. He spent that money on his son, and I found that real telling about his own personal character. All right, so Charlene, she's not part of the main cast, but she is the sister of Sabrina. What were your thoughts about Charlene?
My bestie. She reminds me of one of my besties. And so, or the person that I feel like I can be for my friends. Charlene is no nonsense. She's a straight shooter when it comes to her family. It's either right or it's left. There is no middle ground. And so she is willing, when I say ride or die, are we riding? No, this is what was said. Okay, well, we pulling up. Come on, let's go.
Yes.
And so she's the big sister, she's the best friend, she's all the things wrapped up in one. She's a protector, and so I love that, and she's absolutely freaking gorgeous. I love this image that you picked. I am infatuated. Chef's kiss. Love her, love her, love her.
What I loved about this particular character was the fact that she's not the older sister; she's a younger sister. Um, I saw the difference between the dynamics between the two. So Sabrina, the older sister, she's responsible, she's a nurse, the way in which she handles herself. Charlene, who is younger, she's a bit of a wild child, less responsible. I mean, she doesn't even cook. She orders her food.
Like, what she say? Uber Eats? Like, why would
Yes.
I? Why would I even bother about food when I go Uber Eats?
That's what I loved about her. I especially loved when she was like, "What? He stood you up, girl? Come on, let's go."
You going over there? Don't worry.
Yeah, Taser.
Taser. Okay, what a name. I empathize with Taser a lot, but Taser is like caught up in some gang stuff. I think partially because of he just kind of needs that other community outside of what's going on, but at his core, good guy, just trying to figure it out. Crappy start in life, um, and so literally just a victim of circumstance, if you will, and youthful. So, um, provided the right direction, has a chance to turn it around.
So in the I don't know late 80s, 90s, we would have called him a gangbanger,
Hmm.
right? At the beginning, we see that he gets stabbed, right? Do you think they were trying to, I don't know, soften him up for us, the viewers, instead of having a negative connotation immediately thrust upon him?
I love your use of the word thrust. And so I would say that tracks because allowing him to get stabbed, having him placed in the hospital, having his friends visit him, that gives him a little bit more vulnerability. Then we get to see just a tiny peek into, at least in this episode, of his backstory. So I do think that was intentional to make it a little bit more palatable, but at the same time, the way in which he put himself in harm's way and not having his friends really come to his aid because it was really like a suicide mission. Y'all were outnumbered, spoke to his either recklessness or him being brave. And so, or could be just a combination of both. Like, no, this is what's going on, and I will not be painted in this way. I'm going out there. And so I think it was a little bit of both of those things happening. So, yeah.
Okay. So for me, what I was thinking, because they did a really good job of saying that whoever used to have his place, he's now like over. I'm gonna call it a gang. He's over their little gang, and the person who used to be over the gang went to jail, and so Taser has stepped up, if you will, and so. Taser decides, hey, he's going to step up. Yes, he's scared, but he's going to step up. We learn a little bit later that he thought he would be able to use his power of invisibility to, get a one up on everyone, but it didn't work out. All right, let's move. Rodney.
2-bit hustler, low level drug dealer. Rodney is getting by. Rodney does not want to be a dealer by any means, for real. But Rodney, with his super speed that he finds out that he has, haphazardly or whatever, I thought it was just so cute. He ends up in Scotland. He's like, "Hey, where am I?" But anyway, I like Rodney because again, it resonates with the everyday struggle. He's just trying to get by. He's just trying to make sure he eats and has a roof over his head. And he doesn't want to be a drug dealer. He's not even good at it. He's not good at it, but he's just trying. He's absolutely trying. And he's cute. He's adorable. He reminds me of like a first cousin. I don't look at him in any way as like sexual at all. He just reminds me of like a first cousin or a really good homeboy. But I like Rodney. Rodney is just trying to make it. That's what it gives me. Like, or when you're in college and you've used up your meal plan and you're hungry and you're just gonna do whatever you got to do to make sure you eat and do the things to just get by. So I resonate with Rodney's character quite a bit.
Okay, so besides the fact that Rodney, actually, you mentioned a first cousin. He actually reminded me of my actual first cousin. He looks like my first cousin. He has the mindset of my first cousin. He's like, hey, I got this power. Okay, let's see how I can use this power to make some money. And he does. He excels at it. But he's so goofy that his friend really, really loves comics, and he's just like, no, man, you got to do this for the greater good. You got to do that. Rodney's like, no. That's why I love Rodney. So, Sabrina, we kind of talked about her earlier. What are your thoughts about her?
Sabrina want to be in her soft girl era so bad. And Sabrina is getting her nursing on. She is genuinely a sweetheart, trying to find her beau that, will work with what she has going on in life. And she's just again trying to be in her soft girl era and do her nursing stuff and just go on. But she's with a freaking low life deadbeat 2-timing skeezer. And so she's more powerful than she realizes. And so with her, I'm glad that she has her sister that has her back. But I absolutely love Sabrina because it's like, she's non-threatening on the surface, right? But it's the epitome of, I'm not no killer, but don't push me. Do not. Do not. You won't like me when I'm angry, the Hulk, all the things. And so I love Sabrina. And she's just like a kind-hearted, good-natured person. But just don't F with me. Don't.
So what I loved about her character is how much she reminded me of Storm. I don't know if you're familiar with Storm.
Excuse me? That was my alias for a while. Okay. Storm. Then it changed to Storm Shadow. It was the whole phase. It really was. But I was obsessed with Storm from X-Men. So yes, please continue that.
So she reminded me of Storm a whole lot. But she did annoy me.
Okay, you're giving me Corey T vibes. Please continue.
No, it was just a couple of things that she did. It was number one, she was what's the best way of saying it? She was very reluctant to, number one, believe in her powers, number two, use her powers. It wasn't until her sister was being put in harm's way that she okay, all right, this is what it is. It also annoyed me when she wanted to turn herself in. I understood why she wanted to turn herself in. I just didn't like the fact that she wanted to turn herself in. It's no, you had, number one, the guy had the same powers, basically same powers that you had. So why would you turn yourself in? He had the same, and he probably had his abilities longer than you. You surprised him, and so therefore you got the one up on him. And then it was cleaned up. So why? Why would you do it?
Probably that part of her brain and her ideology that wanted to still believe that the world was black and white, and that's just not what it is. It's just not. It is 100% just not black and white.
And if you can get over, get over. That's how I believe. Okay. All right. So we've talked about Michael quite a bit. Is there anything else that you want to say about this particular character before we continue?
No, not particularly. I think I addressed everything I needed to address with Michael.
Okay. All right. So let's continue. All right. So does immunity feel purely benevolent? Remember, it's episode 1. We're dealing with episode 1. Do they feel purely benevolent? And I'm talking about the agency that Michael took his mom to. Or are you getting a sinister vibe?
So anytime an overly smiley white woman comes into a hospital room of a destitute, impoverished black woman, I got questions, right? And so this is without why, because if I'm being honest, I have not rewatched the season, right? So anytime I see those types of things, I got red banners, not just red flags. I got red rooms, I got red weddings, I got all of those things. And so when I see those dynamics play out, I know that there is something foreshadowing, there is something underhanded, there is something that is not benevolent, there is something that you stand to gain significantly more than whatever bottom feeder level that could potentially be beneficial to me. So, to answer your question in a more concise way, benevolence has nothing to do with it.
You went from Jack Nicholson to. I mean, you look at that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So, next question. The Supercell's approach to powers outclass the modern Hollywood superhero blockbusters.
Does it
Beyond.
so does it outclass it?
Mm-hmm.
When you say outclass, give me a quick synopsis. What do you mean? Does it outclass the modern Hollywood superhero blockbuster? When you say outclass, so outclass being that these characters are more everyday Joes. They don't have Tony Stark's money or anything like that. When you say outclass, you literally just mean like socioeconomic status.
So, for instance, with what is it? Not Superman, Spider-Man. So Spider-Man had some a science background, if you will. Yes, Tony Stark, he had all his money and all his gadgets and all of that. The Hulk was a scientist, and yet, to your point, yes, I'm agreeing with how you framed it. They're just regular people living their lives, and so, do you feel like this is a better representation of how people will deal with such powers, as opposed to what we see in the Marvel universe? For instance, even Black Panther, they were wealthy beyond wealth. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are people. Yeah, you could say that they're regular, but at the same time, they're kings and queens and princesses and all kinds of stuff.
So I'm gonna say yes. This 100% deviates from what we see in your blockbuster traditional heroes, simply because this is your average everyday person. But not only that, people of color. Every single person within the five is a person of color. And so you have that whole piece working. And so there's that. And so we don't come from any type of, like you said, the science background or of wealthy means. These are working class people that happen to have this ability, and they're being hunted. And so versus I'm stumbling into a superpower and I have this super savior complex. No, I have stumbled into these abilities and I'm being hunted. I'm a person of color and I still have all these things playing in the background. And so I'm making a choice with how to steward my abilities. And so I think it's completely juxtaposed, to use the word that you love, to the Hollywood superhero blockbuster Tony Starks and Spider-Mans and Batmans and all of these people. None of them look like us.
Okay.
And none of them can resonate with our struggles.
Psychologically, how does giving a character a timeline of doom alter their behavior?
Desperation. And I've never ever wanted the power of premonition. You know me enough to know, like, I love Charmed, I love all the witchy stuff. And so for me, I've always thought that having foresight or being clairvoyant, however you want to frame it, is the worst thing to do to someone, simply because if we watch the butterfly effect, we know whatever you do is going to have something else happen and blah blah blah. So anyway, I think it's just a lot. It's a lot for anyone to manage.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, is Michael's deep emotional attachment to Dion his greatest strength, or is it a psychological vulnerability that his enemies will easily exploit now that he has an absolute deadline to save her?
I'm not gonna fence straddle today. I'm gonna say it's the latter. It's the latter, not a ladder. The latter. I'm gonna say it's the latter because you are so desperate to save her that you may potentially do things that ruin things. But you can, if people know that you have a vulnerability, they will use that against you in every single way that they possibly can. So I think it's more of a vulnerability than it is a strength.
Mm, 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 mm. I agree.
Had he been a lone wolf, if you're a lone wolf, then what can you leverage?
Do you think, since you mentioned him possibly being a lone wolf, do you think it was a smart idea for him to seek out the other four?
I'm gonna say yes. Whereas he is a good guy, he's not that emotionally invested in them for real. And so have it, if there are casualties, it won't take him long to recover. I think it's just a smart move. It's a smart move. There's power in numbers, and you don't know how deep the rabbit hole is at this point. And so rather than acting as a lone wolf, if you know that there are these other people to where you can develop a faction, that's just a smart move.
I agree. You kind of answered this earlier. By trying to stop the specific future from happening, is Michael inevitably going to cause it?
You said by trying to stop the future, is Michael going to do what?
Is he going to cause it?
100%. Again, the butterfly effect type things. That's the downside to having premonitions or being clairvoyant. You know, you see things, but then there's a ripple effect. You change one minor detail and you can set off a whole chain reaction to other events. And so I think that this will 100% cause the impending doom.
Do these powers become a blessing, or do you think, or do they just become a more dangerous tool for the street hustles?
It depends on how you view blessings. I'm gonna say that, but I'm gonna say it depends on the character. Um, it depends on the character of each person, not necessarily the character in the realm of the show, but how you steward things is just based on your ideology and just how you are as a person. And so ultimately though, I feel like if you don't have though that moral compass to kind of restrain you, it's 100% going to be weaponized in an awful way.
Kind of talked about it earlier, especially as it relates to Rodney. Rodney just used his power to do more harm as it relates to the community by selling drugs. In the case of Andre, he ended up stealing money and using it, even though he didn't really want to. That's exactly what he did, right? Sabrina, she ended up killing somebody. And it just goes on and on and on. So yeah. All right, next question. Who in this episode is least equipped to handle this kind of power?
I'm gonna pick on the youngest, Taser. I'm gonna pick on the youngest, Taser. Simply because you're young, you're inexperienced. You're you have gotten into the life, as far as like being in the streets, things like that. But you have this whole rival gang dynamic versus the other people, like, hey, we're trying to pay our bills, we're trying to take care of our kid or be in our career. Those are the things. You have the trauma of not having a parent there, and then just trying to get by and whatever other gaps that you're trying to fill in your life, and you are just immature because you're young. I feel like he is probably the least able to handle those abilities, simply because just the immaturity or having to try to grow up too fast. That's a lot of pressure.
So for me, I thought you said something. I was just hearing my own feedback. For me, I would have said Michael, not Michael, Rapman. And the reason for it is because of kind of like what I said earlier. For him, he's just, hey, it's fun. This is what I got. You know, I'm about making that money. And then it ended up where, you know, this is episodes in, his friend. He was worried about his friend. And then he also has trauma of his mom basically said, oh, you the black one, so I can't have you in the house. And all he really wanted was the love of his mom. And so, you know, that for him, that causes all kinds of problems in his life. But again, to your point, he's so young. He's the second youngest of all of them. And so he makes poor choices.
You know, world's worst drug dealer.
All right. So what does it do to a viewer's psyche to see the protagonist's biggest contrast be himself?
So as a viewer, it forces you to think a little bit deeper, right? So you can go surface level. Okay, we're trying to get from point A to point B. This is what I want. Hey, try to get my credit together, have a place, have a wife, have these things. And then, boom, I have the ability of foresight. I can time jump, freeze time, all of these things. And so having to make the decision to alter a timeline and all of these things, as a viewer, for me, you get the buy-in. You get the buy-in because I love a good story of internal warring, because that is where most of us live. None of us are truly black and white. There are gray areas with most of us. And so that internal struggle is something that we can all resonate with without having super abilities. And so I love that.
So for me, which is why I created this image right here, in 3 months' time, Michael goes from looking like he looks on the left hand side to what he looks like on the right hand side. When you look at Michael on the right hand side, he looks like he's 60 years old. He has bags under his eyes. He looks tired. He looks drained. He looks like he's gone through a lot in 3 months' time. Versus the Michael that we see at the beginning, where it's like his life is just starting. He's about to get married. He just got into a house, just bought a car, has friends that he's really close with. Now he's with these other 4 people, and they're all dealing with whatever it is that they're dealing with, and they want to change time. All of them want to change time. right? Because obviously too much has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that weighs on them. But on the other side, the flip side is now they have all these powers. Because what we see is that there's an evolution to all of their powers that right now they don't have.
Listen, that goes back to and it might have been what inspired and Spider-Man, where it said, "With great power comes great responsibility." And you can take it back to the Bible if you're a person that reads the Bible. What is it? To whom much is given, much is required. We could go on and on, but 100% he does. You can see the difference in how he looks. It's very, very, very clear. He's heavy. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage. And then foresight, time jumping, that's a lot. Like, oh, it sounds cool in the moment, but then when you have to do it, I don't think I want it. Just give me some telekinesis. I'll be good with that. I don't need to see the future. I'm going to find a way to mess it up.
All right, so let's rate this particular episode. From Mayfair to 10, how would you rate this particular episode?
Okay. So definitely not giving it Mayfair. For me, this episode lands at about a 7, simply because it was episode 1. Now, we're not talking about the overall series. It's episode 1. Strong opening. The middle got real fuzzy, twiddling my thumbs. The last 6 minutes was like, oh my God, what is going on? I gotta watch this show. And so for me, with Supercell, episode 1 only comes in at about a 7 for me. I like where they are going. The premise is good. It's just the way it was fleshed out. And I guess it's episode 1, so that's to be expected. You're trying to build. So a 7 for me.
So for me, I would give this particular episode an 8. And because I guess what I keep in mind is the fact that they are world building. They're trying to explain what's happening, why it's happening, and then the origin stories for each of these 5 main characters. And so it's a lot that they were trying to put all up into some odd minutes. And so I give some grace. I'm with you. I really do understand why you feel the way that you do, but at the same time, I have to think about the fact that they're building this world. And at the same time, for an American audience, I didn't understand some of what they were even saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are they talking about? I have to state that at a certain point, closed caption. I need the closed caption because I don't know what they're talking about. And then every now and then I would have to stop and I would have to do a little quick research. What does this word mean?
That's exactly why it would still be a 7 for me. That's too much work. It's too much work. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, in the middle, it got a little fuzzy for me. Like, ooh, Lord, okay, I don't know if I can get through this. But it was like, oh, that's why. Okay, I like where this is headed.
All right. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share on all your social media. Oh, I do want to say this. We have a couple of shows that are coming up in the next week. Don't forget this coming Sunday, we're going to be covering Beyond the Gates. Elier is going to be hosting. We are also going to be covering The Vampire Lestat. And also next week, we're going to cover the 2nd episode of Supacell. If you want to join us, please do set your notifications. Okay? Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, have a good one. We've got questions and we know you have answers, so make love to our senses in the comments. Drop them down below.